Welcome to the Total Football Podcast. I'm Declan Hare, and today I'm joined by Andrew Conway.
Hello.
And Matthijs O'Flaherty.
Hello.
As we discuss the big match at Anfield and take a look at what's going wrong for the big money strikers in the Premier League. In the summer of 2011, Samir Nasri seemed like he was on his way to Manchester United, but he ended up joining Manchester City and helped them win 2 league titles. The following summer, it was Robin Van Persie's turn to be the subject of a bidding war between the two Manchester clubs. This time United getting their man for £24 million. Van Persie said the little boy inside him was the deciding factor for joining the Red Devils. Now, 5 and 6 years on from those two transfer sagas, one has to wonder what they think of the battle in Manchester taking place over the signature of Alexis Sanchez.
Well, both the teams want him, obviously, a lot, but I think City have decided that they're not willing to pay what Arsenal want for him right now.
Yeah, it seems that Manchester United have paid their way through this deal.
Yeah.
And they're going to get Sanchez. He wants a lot of money for it, though. 350 grand a week is the reported wage figure.
Yeah, he wants a lot of money for a guy who's not been productive at all this season.
Like, he's not had a good season. He's 29 now.
Yeah, and you can blame it on the fact that he doesn't want to be at Arsenal, but at the best that shows a lack of professionalism.
Yeah.
You know, and there's no guarantee that he'll be properly able to get it all back. You know, he'll be able to hit the heights he hit at last year when he was at his best.
Yeah, because another reason that people have been saying he's out of form is because of the disappointment of not qualifying for the World Cup, and signing for Manchester United isn't going to change that.
Yeah.
He's still not going to the World Cup regardless.
Yeah, there's contrasting views on this. You see, Man City are all for the player until a few days ago when apparently the money thing came in, and Pep apparently doesn't want any of his players playing for money, or at least that's the political thing he's putting out there. There's talk that City can't have him on the wage bill to adhere to financial fair play. They'd have to offload some players. And the fact that Gabriel Jesus is going to be back in a few weeks rather than a few months might also be a reason why they don't want him anymore.
Yeah, I think that money thing might just be Pep giving his club and his owners a bit of a way out.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think that any City manager can say that he doesn't want players who play for money. That's how the club...
That's what the club is built on, really.
Yeah, including that's why Pep's there. Pep wouldn't have been there 10 years ago. Stuart Pearce. Pep would never have taken over from Stuart Pearce.
Well, I with Pep, to be fair, I can see that it's about writing his own, story
legacy.
at what he sees as a blank slate.
He wants to do to Man City what Cruyff did for Barcelona.
Yeah, to be fair, with Pep, I think there is more than just the money. But with Sanchez, I think money and titles, those are the two things on his mind right now.
Yeah, but then if he wants titles, why go to Manchester United?
They won 3 trophies last year, as Jose Mourinho likes to tell everyone.
But what about the Premier League title?
Well, they're not going to win that. No one's going to win
that.
Are
they going to win the Champions League?
No.
Are they going to win the FA Cup? Because Sanchez has won that.
That's
a lucky dip. Has he won it 3 times?
He's definitely won it twice. I'm not sure about 3 times.
I think it's 3 times alright.
Yeah, he's won it 3 times. Like, that's, it's kind of funny like that.
Yeah.
Going back to Sanchez and the money, I wouldn't hold it against this guy. This guy...
Yeah, no, it's fair enough wanting to earn money, yeah.
Absolutely.
He has to pay for his whole family and extended family. They went hungry so he could play football when he was younger. It's a fair enough. He, as you said, he's 29. He's got one more big contract in him. He turned down 300 grand a week from Arsenal 12 months ago. He had to get at least that. So either club are going to give him 300 plus.
Yeah.
It's more the transfer fee at this point. And if Manchester United, some of the rumoured transfers that are going on, I don't know if we're going to cover it later on, but the fact that apparently 35 and 40 million have been talked about, which is what Arsenal wanted in cash for him from Man City.
Yeah.
Plus either Henrik Mkhitaryan or Anthony Martial, which is less likely, but it's still if they're rumouring it, there's people talking about it, and Arsenal are obviously interested. They're interested.
Yeah, they seem to be definitely inquiring about it at the very least.
Arsenal wanted Martial before he went to Manchester United, and the story back then was that he wasn't going anywhere. But then Man United put up the whatever.
It was a record fee at the time for a teenager.
Yeah.
No, I don't think we'll see a swap deal. We never do. They always get rumoured and they never actually happen.
Samuel Eto'o,
not often.
Samuel
Eto'o is the big one, but I mean not often and not outside of Italy.
He's the exception to the rule, kind of.
Mikel Silvestre is part of a swap deal between Man United and Arsenal in the past. It has happened.
What was the player going the other way?
Was it Van Persie?
No, it wasn't
Van Persie.
Silvestre was long gone by then.
Was it?
Yeah.
Maybe it was someone else.
I think that one was just cash.
Yeah.
No, it could be, but not often with players of this calibre and this sort of money, with the alternative. I still think he'll end up at United. just for cash.
Yeah,
you know?
United seems really likely.
Yeah.
But bringing on to the news, on the pitch at Arsenal, it is yet another defeat, a 2-1 defeat away to Bournemouth. It's the first time Bournemouth have ever beaten Arsenal in their history, so congratulations to them before we criticise Arsenal.
Terry Redknapp not beat Arsenal with Bournemouth in the FA Cup.
No, as far as I know, that it might be just the first league win.
Yeah,
but as far as I know,
played in the league like 3 to 4 times.
it's still a good achievement for them, and shows the sign of progress that Eddie Howe has brought to the club that were in League 2 not too long ago. But what about Arsenal? That was another terrible performance from them.
Yeah, you got to wonder, where's this come from? Because they were in good form for a while there.
The exciting match against Chelsea.
Yeah, they had a great game there. That ended 2-2.
2-2, yeah.
And it's all fallen apart a little bit because not only have the results not been coming, the performances haven't been coming.
It's the 3 matches that Wenger has missed now. They've lost 2 and then they drew the 0-0 with Chelsea at Stamford Bridge midweek in the Carabao Cup.
Which was a dire game compared to the
much
better
2-2. Complete opposite.
Yeah. Well, both teams were tired. They're feeling
Yeah,
the effects of
you'd expect
the festive break, and they clearly weren't all gung-ho about it the way that maybe they would have been if it was a one-off match 2 or 3 weeks from now. Arsenal are gone. They're like, I could still see if they make enough signings, they could still recover and try and make a challenge for a top 4 place.
Well, they've been linked with Aubameyang today.
Aubameyang, Malcolm from Bordeaux,
Yeah.
young Brazilian, very, good signing. It would be something for the future, if nothing else. Aubameyang, 28, intent on speed. He's a good fitness record. He's out for disciplinary matters at the moment. He's expected to be sold this window. He's fallen out with the board a few times.
Yeah, numerous times.
If Arsenal they sign him.
Yeah, while I think Aubameyang's a great player, I'd still be a little wary. He is 28, and although he hasn't had any major injuries,
he's going to Arsenal.
Yeah, he's going to Arsenal.
It's inevitable.
And that means he's been playing the whole time. That wear and tear on his legs is going to be more than it would be on somebody who wasn't maybe on the pitch as much. And Arsenal do have a bad record with
any player.
Yeah.
Every single member of the squad has suffered injuries since they've been at the club, which is, you don't see that about every.
No, Watford are the only Premier League team I think that are any way comparable.
Yeah, because Arsenal lose probably one member of their squad for some part of the season.
Yeah, Bayern Munich have a similar record as well, I think, but that's mostly just because Arjen Robben and Frank Ribery are
off in class.
Although
Frank Ribery's 34, still going strong, but I see what you're saying.
That and Bayern's doctor is a believer in aromatherapy and acupuncture.
Might be the best strategy for helping men broken bones.
But Wenger's coming back now. His touchline ban is over. Can he turn it around in the next few games?
Yes. Will
Possible?
he?
No.
They play Palace next week. Palace are in good form.
Well, you see, the key thing is Arsenal have been actually okay at home this season. They played well at home. They've won most of their matches at home, even the ones they've lost, like against Manchester United.
I think that's the only defeat at home,
since April. They played very well in that match. They battered Manchester United.
The Hedges had a
30
master
shots
class.
to 3 or something, and they lost 3-1. Whatever it was in the end of the day. But they play well. Away from home, they've won 3 matches, which are kind of fluky matches. They've won out of 11. I think they played away, or 12 at this point.
That's an awful record.
Yeah,
that's close to what Burnley were doing
last
a couple
season.
of years ago. Yeah.
So that they have the home matches left to actually make a recovery at this. They're going to sign players. Like you said earlier, Sanchez has been out of sorts since he came back from Chile's failure to qualify for the World Cup. Apparently that's when his behaviour in the dressing room became terminal, and that's when he started having the falling outs, or the reoccurrence of the falling outs he had over last season with Koscielny, and a lot of the Arsenal defence who just don't like him because he complains about them and then he doesn't do anything to help them, and it seems like he's always the victim of it. So they didn't like him with that. They want him out of the club. Everyone's in agreement to get him out of the club. If the club can make money now, so be it, and I think it'll be a good move for them. Yeah,
but I think part of the problem they're so bad away from home is that they don't have the type of players who love that. If you can think of players who would go away, they're being booed all across the stadium, and they love that.
John Terry
loves that. Roy Keane, he loved that. Arsenal have nobody like that. I mean,
I don't know. I feel that there is some hard players in that team.
I'm not,
But they
I'm
haven't
not
really
even saying,
shown it this
Yeah.
season. Like Kolasinac looked like a tank when he came in his first match.
He's not
but
playing.
He's not even playing now.
He's been dropped. Like Maitland-Niles is coming into the side. Yeah, Arsenal is in some kind of calamity at the moment.
They just seem
More
to
so
need
than
an
normal.
overhaul.
but they've been jerking from calamity to calamity to calamity. I
Yeah.
mean, there's
They've
something
got no
has to
FA
change.
Cup run this year to kind of
No.
bring them out of it.
There's always the League Cup.
No. They could well win the League Cup, but I think the League Cup would almost be a distraction from the Europa League, which is probably should be their goal. For
Yeah,
now
if I were
in the
them, because
season.
they are 8 points off Chelsea now in fourth. Like that's a hard gap to.
Yeah, it's not going to be recovered. They have a chance of going on a run, and if they sign these players, and these players, if Aubameyang hits the ground running, he could score 20 goals from now and the end of the season.
But it kind of feels
But
like
he's not going to.
It kind of feels like at this point that it's almost a good setup for next season.
But
There's
Arsenal,
always next season.
Yes.
That's always
Yeah,
the
that
number
is,
in
of
Arsenal.
course,
Like,
yeah.
they're in a terminal decline. Like it's been said multiple times over the last week that likely, if the season finishes, Arsenal look like they're going to finish 5th or 6th.
Yeah.
That's as bad as they were when Wenger took over, and the club was in a several-year decline since George Graham left when Wenger took over.
Yeah.
But at that point, they had Dennis Bergkamp, they had Ian Wright, they had Paul Merson, they had Ray Parlour. They had that Arsenal defence from the early 90s.
Yeah, and that defence is gone now. There's no
who
semblance of that
will
good.
Arsenal have if Wenger leaves next season?
But-
Ozil might be gone, Wilshere might be gone. Like loads of players will be in their last year contract. The players that aren't will be 34-year-old Lauren Koscielny, however old Petr Cech is at that point.
Koscielny,
34 as well, I think.
Koscielny, who has to get injections and foot massages
Yeah.
every game to play.
He's a chronic.
He's-
He's a chronic foot.
Yeah, this seems like it could be his last season as a starter.
I mean,
Yeah.
he is going to be finding it hard to walk in 20 years if he
Oh, yeah.
doesn't retire soon for his own sake.
And like Petr Cech just seems past it at this point.
Yeah.
He's. I mean, with that
But
head
everyone-
injury,
Everyone in that team, you wouldn't necessarily say. I don't think any of the players in the team are past it. I wouldn't give that judgment. It's because everyone is so bad at the moment.
Well, I just think with Petr Cech specifically, it's just he had such a good peak.
Yeah,
That-
you can say that
yeah,
he's
he
nowhere
has-
near his peak
yeah.
player.
Yeah.
But
And
everyone, you can't. I don't think you can judge any player in that team at the moment.
No, and I do think while Cech, I would say, is quite past it. He has extenuating circumstances. The head injury is
Yeah.
obviously going to shorten a career. Some of the other guys, there's plenty of time for them to get back up. There's no
Yeah.
big barrier like
But
that.
the one exception to the whole squad at the moment seems to be Jack Wilshere, who is playing the best football in a long time. And he's
Well,
the
he
only
has-
performer for Arsenal at the moment, it seems.
Until he gets injured again.
Well, one, until he gets injured again, and secondly, he hasn't been that good. He's just been
Well, in
standard.
comparison.
No, but that's you can say players are playing excellently, or you can say players at status quo while his teammates are not. He's playing in a role where it's easy to perform well. He's got a player behind him in Xhaka who's taken all the brunt for the defensive duties in the team, and he can't defend.
Yeah.
So that's
There's a problem with balance in the squad, which we've talked about before.
hugely.
Yeah.
Like there's nobody doing anything up front, so Wilshere looks better.
Yeah.
In that environment when he's just doing his job, he's not being called to too much defending, and he doesn't have to
There's
contribute
a bit of
goals.
romance around Jack Wilshere as well, because like people are willing him, like people want him to succeed just because he has had such terrible injuries over the last few years.
I wouldn't chance against him getting another injury.
Yeah, sure. He picked up a knock during the midweek
Yeah.
that almost kept him out of this Bournemouth match.
Yeah.
No, but I honestly think that the biggest problem for Arsenal are still to come. Just because of how big a figure Wenger is in the management there, he has more control over the club than any other manager at any
They're
other club.
trying to
They're trying
get
to wean
around
him off
that
it.
at the moment.
Yeah, they are starting to plan for the future, but I think it's a bit too late. You saw what happened to United when Ferguson left.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see a similar thing happen to an Arsenal team who are worse right now, who are going to find it harder to get a high-profile manager to replace him. And I just don't think things are going to go all that well for them in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
Like
that seems plausible.
I agree with you. I think there will be a crisis, or a crisis of sorts, when Wenger eventually does leave. The club will be left, and it'll be obviously the transition type period where anything could happen.
Yeah.
They go up or down, depending on who they bring in and how the structure of the league changes over those times. But I do think Arsenal are growing into a better position behind the scenes than Manchester United were.
Yeah, they're doing a lot more than United. Like United, the problem with
United
United
had
as well
nothing
was
back-
they had nothing, and then what
Loads-
little they did have left.
Yeah. Huge resignations, or just get rid of the first team coaches, Mike Phelan and
That
Freddie
was on
Mullenstein.
David Moyes, yeah. He
He
decided,
did. No, I don't want these guys,
Yeah.
even though that would have been continuity.
Yeah.
And keeping,
But
a
even
bit
someone
going.
like David Gill, who just got a new job with UEFA, or was the
Well, yeah,
FA
he
at the time.
he basically
But
retired.
he was a
from-
huge figure at United as well under Ferguson. That was a huge loss.
So in the end, then you could say that Wenger's biggest contribution to Arsenal going forward is that he stayed on for these 2 years, which looked like they might tarnish his legacy a bit in order to help support the club.
The last 10 years of Arsene Wenger has tarnished his legacy. Like, there's no doubt when he, even to the 2006 Champions League final, when he brought that Arsenal team, then even they were on limited resources. They weren't making big money signings. They were, fighting Chelsea and Manchester United, who were making huge signings.
They were budgeting because they knew they had a new stadium.
And they made it to the Champions League final, beating Real Madrid, beating Juventus, beating everyone along the way.
With an amazing defensive record.
Yeah, and if he had left then, he would have been. He is lauded in France, one of the best managers of the generation. He is lauded around Europe because he changed an old English club into an attacking football. He progressed English football. He did well in European competitions to an extent, and then moreover, he's praised because he did this all on a budget throughout that whole time, and there was change happening and stuff like that, as opposed to all his other contemporaries, great contemporaries in the form of Alex Ferguson, who broke the bank multiple times, or like Fabio Capello always went to the biggest clubs in Italy, or various managers like that. So he is on his own in that respect, but at the same time he hasn't carried forward to a longer legacy. He had those 10 years at the top, say between Monaco to the Invincibles, and that was it. Like, he should have. Like, no one at Arsenal wants him to go basically until the last 5 years.
It's a case of hindsight in that situation.
So.
He loves the club. He's stayed there. He loves England. He's not going to leave England, most likely, even if he leaves the club. But the whole systematic Arsenal structure that he created is kind of folded. Arsenal were famed for having the largest cash reserves of any football club in the world for a few seasons. So they had between 200 and 350 million in the bank, depending on what time it was, and they were hoarding this money to do whatever for the future. This will be the future. And now the Premier League contracts, television rights, the massive amounts of money that are now being pushed into the football by state-run clubs from PSG, Man City, and so forth, has rendered that money in the bank useless, or not worth what it was 3 years ago. Now that's one Neymar. Like, his whole idea of football has been undermined, and he's been left behind as a result. And Arsenal have been left behind too. Going forward, they brought in the Borussia Dortmund director of football, who's now director of football affairs, or he's not director of football, but he basically is. Who's targeting all these former Borussia Dortmund players like Malcolm, to come in and kind of rebuild the squad. The coach in that matter, does it even matter at that point?
Yeah.
When you have a system like that in place,
The job of the manager has kind of regressed, really, back to where it was maybe 30 years ago. Well, longer than that. But
longer, yeah. It's no longer coach has a job now. It's becoming more like the American system, where you have a general manager. Like Dortmund now, the general manager of the club makes does the press releases, press conferences, and the head coach does very football specific things. Something to do with a signing goes to the general manager.
Yeah,
that's the German method, and that's what's probably going to happen at Arsenal. And they're just going to wheel in another coach to continue it is. That's why Dortmund are able to almost seamlessly change coach, and the football not change really, and the personnel change, keep roughly the same. And that is going to evolve throughout Europe, I think, or at least if that's the model the clubs are going to go with. Like, I think that's already how Barcelona are doing it. It's how Dortmund are doing it. It's how Bayern Munich are doing it. It's how Juventus are scheming to do it. It's how Man City are doing it.
I feel like that's what Chelsea are trying to do as well.
They're trying, but they have enough turnover that it's not. But I think in the long term, that's what they want. Manchester United are one of those outliers that don't do it. Real Madrid are similar, even though they have more of a personality. At the top, and Perez and stuff like that. But football's changing. There's no longer almighty power. Arsene Wenger, Alex Ferguson, Fabio Capello, his Trapattoni, Marcello Lippi. These managers ruled with an iron fist. They controlled everything in the club. They controlled what their players ate, who they saw, when they went out. Arsene Wenger, in the modern game, he doesn't know that Alex Iwobi's in a house party the night before an FA Cup match where he played 90 minutes and plays terribly. He doesn't know Jack Wilshere is smoking every day and going out before matches, and no wonder he's not fit or gets injured. He doesn't know that these players don't want anything to do with the club. He's still like, oh, they're my units together. You said at the beginning of the show, Nasri left because of whatever, football, money, something in between. Trophies. Van Persie left for the same reason. Fabregas went back to Barcelona. Why didn't he say Clichy left? Adebayor left. For the last 10 years, Arsene Wenger's been losing more and more grip on the game of football as his players become further away from him in age and further away from him in mindset, outlook, where they don't believe in the same values he believes in. If they did, Arsenal would have had one of the best squads of the last 10 years instead of it being siphoned off between Barcelona and Man City.
Yeah. That's a pretty good rundown of where everything has kind of gone with Arsenal in the last decade or so.
Yeah,
where football is going.
Yeah, and it is what it is. You know, that's the game. It's moved that way. Players will soon be. Wenger has predicted this. It's funny how he predicts all these things, and he doesn't yield his own advice. He said players don't care about politics anymore. They don't care about this. They care about money. They care about winning things, which don't change. But you know, if they want to leave the club in 6 months' time, they're going to get shorter and shorter contracts so they can leave the club in 6 months' time. They're going to take those risks on their own employment. It's the game's gone full circle on them.
Yeah.
And that's why Arsenal, technically speaking, I think most of the first team squad will be gone in 18 months unless there's contract extensions. And Arsenal will be left with nobody.
That's
when Wenger's contract ends as well. All these players have their contracts almost aligned to Wenger.
Yeah.
And at the end of next season, there were very few players left. Like Lacazette, I think, will be left.
He could do it by himself, clearly.
Very few. And some of the younger players who still have long-term contracts.
We'll be looking, can Lacazette do it on his own later?
Yeah. We'll move on now to Chelsea because they've got a 0-0. They drew 0-0 at the weekend. It's their third 0-0 in a row. First time in the club's history that they've done that. Just what is going on with Chelsea? Why can't they score?
I think they're feeling the effects of more so than we've talked about it before, but the Christmas calendar is harsh on a lot of these players.
And Chelsea have not been rotating.
No. And that is the next point, that Chelsea have such a tight squad where they're still selling and loaning out youth players, who could come in and do a job. No,
the problem there is that they don't give those youth players times in years where they don't have to. Like, they didn't rotate at all last year. Chalba saw that. He was being told this year, oh, don't worry, we'll play you this year, you'll get game time this year. He's 23. He says, I don't want to wait this year. The longer I wait, the less life I have in football. So he goes off to Watford.
He should have done it years ago.
Loftus-Cheek is the same thing. He gets loaned out to Crystal Palace. Tammy Abraham, maybe not so much. He wasn't expected to be quite the level he's at yet.
But is the solution to Chelsea Andy Carroll?
No, the solution is not Andy Carroll.
I don't think Andy Carroll is the solution to any question.
No, Andy Carroll's being talked about being brought in, but I don't think Andy Carroll is a good decision. No, at Chelsea, first of all, they have problems with the formation because it leaves too much for Hazard to do on his own.
But that's always been Chelsea's way.
It's always been, but like last year when they were playing the 3-4-3, Hazard was getting help up front with Costa, Pedro, and somebody pushing through the middle, either Matic or Kante. Usually Kante, who wouldn't even have to do all that much attacking, but he'd make the runs. He'd be a physical body. They seemed a lot quicker last year. Yes, they did. And the wing backs are a big thing in this too, because Alonso and Moses were getting up the wing. So you have about 6 players in that sort of attacking band. This year, the wing backs are taking longer to get up the pitch because they're more tired. That's why I think the position where Chelsea are hurting most. Playing those extra games. Moses was out for a while. He was injured for a while. Kante was injured for a while. Drinkwater was injured for a while. They sold Matic.
The new signings haven't exactly replaced the new players. In fact, some might say they're not even as good as the players they've replaced.
Defensively, they have no base anymore because whatever John Terry was cover. He was, but he was there. Christensen isn't yet at the same level as John Terry was. Maybe he's as good technically as he was last year.
He is having a good season.
But he's not,
I think centre-back's the one position where they're not too bad, to be honest.
But they're trying to sell their centre-backs.
Yes.
Kurt Zuma's been gone. Kurt Zuma was there last season.
Yeah.
He was fantastic as a great thing to have on the bench when he was fit.
Sure, David Luiz has been linked with Real Madrid.
Yeah. He's been dropped. He's been linked with Arsenal at Real Madrid. Batshuayi was there. That's why they're getting Andy Carroll.
No, but I think the biggest problem with Chelsea right now is because they sold Matic and brought in Bakayoko, who's not as good defensively as they thought he'd be. They need more protection for the defence. They switched to 3-5-2 most of the time, so that gives Fabregas regular game time too, which is seen as a bonus.
And he's had a fine season.
Fabregas has had a fine season, but
Yeah,
it's
he's
at the
had
expense.
multiple great displays.
Yeah, he has, but it's at the expense of Pedro and Willian, who aren't playing.
Yeah.
And when they are playing, they're playing up front, not in the wings where they're best. That is hurting their efficiency. They're not looking the players they were last season.
Yeah.
And that's putting it down to Hazard and Morata, because the wing backs are tired, they're not getting up.
Yeah.
You know, in central midfield, Fabregas, he's a great passer, but he doesn't bring that physical running. He's not physically up.
He'll create chances.
He'll
but
create them. He won't
finish them.
exactly. And I mean, so what Chelsea are left with is Hazard and Morata trying to do a lot more than they had to do even last year, when you know they were still very reliant on Hazard and Costa at the time.
There's also an argument that's saying that, you know, Chelsea were the first team really to switch to 3-4-3 or 3/3-5-2
With
last
big
season.
success, yeah.
And then so 9 months happened.
Yeah,
And
people
teams
figured it out.
Yeah, they realised, okay, we're going to, like Arsenal did in the FA Cup final, okay, we're going to match you man for man, and then you won't be able to do anything.
Yeah.
And that worked for them. And then this season as well, just teams have been playing 5 at the back, properly 5 at the back. And it's stuttering.
Yeah.
It's like that's 3 centre backs on 1 centre forward.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
Morata's playing on his own up front.
If you pack the defence against Chelsea and Hazard isn't in absolutely world-beating form, because sometimes, you know, even you play 5 at the back and Hazard has one of those games, he'll still do it, but you can't rely on that. You know, Morata isn't at the level of Costa where he can come in and bully somebody and just, you know,
Yeah.
he
that
seems
goal.
a lot meeker.
Yeah, he's
a different player.
a great player.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
a great player. He's great for hold-up play. He's great at linking up. But do you remember the West Brom Chelsea game last year around Christmas?
Yeah.
Chelsea won 1-0. They scored off a Diego Costa goal. He bullied Gareth McCauley out of the way.
Yeah, I remember
got
that.
the ball, sprinted down the pitch, finished it. You won't ever see Morata do that. You know, that's not the player.
Yeah,
he
and
is.
like you need that when
Yeah,
like,
when
you're a
they're-
team that's struggling to create things.
Yeah, when playing against a team who's packing the backs, that's what you need. And Chelsea don't have that anymore. They don't have quite as much incisiveness. They don't have quite as much running. And the formation doesn't work without those two. So they need either a bigger squad or a complete switch of tactics.
Yeah.
Or accept that they're in a bit of an Arsenal position, fourth for the next, till they switch manager, players, whatever, you know?
Conte's going to be gone at the end of the season.
Yeah, no, there's
That
no hope he's
seems,
staying
you
on.
know, against
Yeah.
it's not going to go
Yeah,
any further.
because-
And then Chelsea will restart
yeah.
again, and we'll see. You know, half these players were Conte signings now at this point.
Yeah.
What's going to happen to them?
And the big
Yeah.
reason he's leaving is because he saw this coming and asked the board for more
Yeah.
money, more players. They didn't give it to him. That's happened time and time again. Mourinho won the league. He's asked for more signings. Didn't get him.
Yeah.
The Mourinho season happens.
Yeah.
Conte comes in. They say, right, we're going to back the manager this time. We're going to give him anything he wants. Chelsea, you know, sign a lot of players, win the league. And to be fair, they've spent 216 million this summer. They're, I think, fourth biggest spenders in
Yeah.
Europe.
But they
you
were,
know?
but what was their outgoing? Or
Yeah,
their
they had a lot more outgoing than the rest
Yeah,
of the top sides
exactly.
this summer.
They came to about even, I think, in terms of how much
Yeah.
money they spent
Well, like,
to make.
I think I read an article, and I could be wrong with the exact numbers of this, but the English national teams, the underage teams that won tournaments last summer, Chelsea had the biggest proportion of players in those teams.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, that
Chelsea
It
makes
was
sense.
18 players,
Yeah.
but of those, I think the total play time this season by those 18 players was a couple of minutes.
Yeah, Chelsea's youth teams, along with City's,
They're
are
not using the resources.
yes, no, they're heads and
Like,
shoulders above
City's
the rest.
are.
Yeah, City are using their players well. Phil Foden's getting game time.
Yeah.
You know, but Chelsea, you know, at youth age, they're playing younger guys than most of the other teams. And I think there's something like 18 wins, 1 defeat so far this season.
Yeah.
They're under 18 team. You know, but these guys, they're 16 now. They'll have 2 more years, you know, playing Chelsea youth football.
Yeah.
They get loaned out for 2 years, and they won't progress enough. They won't get enough game
They'll
time.
be lower league
Yeah,
players. then.
they'll get maybe 15,000 minutes a season if they're very lucky. That would be very lucky for them, you know. Whereas if you're looking at clubs like Dortmund, players their
Yeah.
age will be getting, you know, 4,000 minutes. They'll be getting, you know, 3 seasons of these players worth in one go.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why Chelsea are going to lose out.
Yeah.
And it was Manchester City's unbeaten run that ended this weekend after 23 games. Liverpool were the team to stop them. It was an emphatic second half display. Would you say Coutinho or Coutinho?
Neither. That's a terrible.
I thought they were pretty good puns.
No.
Didn't.
Liverpool were impressive from the off. They pressed right up high. They did exactly. I watched Robbie Earle on NBC giving the exact strategy that would be needed to beat Pep Guardiola's Man City, and Liverpool executed it. Press the players up high, make the goalkeeper play balls. He's very good at playing long balls, Ederson.
Yeah, but if you put anyone under pressure, they're going to
But
struggle over time.
it wasn't Ederson's passing wasn't off though. It was the receivers of the ball.
Yeah, they were closed down.
Came to them that they eventually slowed down, and then it was the gaps in Man City's defence, which have been there all season, which they haven't yet plugged.
Yeah, John Stones, since he's come back from injury, has made a mistake in each match that he's played in.
I wouldn't be too critical of John Stones this match. He doesn't look fit.
Yeah, that's more my point.
Slow.
Yeah.
But the problem with Man City, and it's been a problem all season, but they've been too good and attacked for anyone to really pick it off, was Fernandinho, not Fernando. Fernandinho is their only defence-minded player, and he attacks like Kante did last season, running on. So if he's not covering for three players in the base midfield / defence, if the wing-backs push forward, the full-backs push forward, they're in serious trouble. And that happened, I think, I would say all four of Liverpool's goals came from the central area when Fernandinho was pulled one way or the other.
Yeah, it was so bizarre to see Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain just run through in so much space.
Yeah. Because there's no one else covering the area.
Yeah.
But then no one can get close enough. Yeah. And it was a great finish. Like, not every player is able to execute that finish. Usually, most teams playing Man City will snatch at that effort, or it'll be saved by Ederson, or a block will come in. It was the perfect hit, perfect finish, got in. The goals in the second half are exactly the same. Is like players were being pulled.
That Firmino goal was amazing.
It's happened before. I think when I first saw it, I thought it's just a free kick. I just presumed, because in most referees will give that as a free kick.
I didn't think it was a free kick. I think John Stones didn't even know that Firmino was there. That's why he was caught out.
I think he did. He was well aware of it. I
didn't think
Firmino thought it was going to be a free kick because of the way he finished.
No, but I think John Stones thought that he wasn't as close as he was.
Maybe.
And that's why he was so caught out. Like, I didn't think it was a free kick. I thought that was just a fair 50-50.
I think it's just, if that's somewhere else on the pitch, that's given as a free kick.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
I think the ref was off the pace of the game, and I think in normal, not that it's just anything particularly wrong with it, he would just muscle them out of it, but I think that in most games now, that will be given as a free kick.
That's a shame, really. I think, but the finish was nice, though.
The finish was lovely.
It was. Yeah. It was, and just away from the defender running back.
Yeah, it was very nice. And then Mane with the third goal just smashed it in, because we've seen with him that he seems to have this need to want to be the one to score the goal, but he hasn't really been scoring lately. Like, Salah's getting all the goals. The highest profile case was against Everton in the derby a month or so ago, when he was 3-on-1 and he decided to shoot himself and had a terrible shot. He dragged it wide, even though I think it was two players over Salah and Ox that could have easily tapped it in if he just passed it. And I thought when he was about to snatch it, I was like, just pass it. You've got previous for this, you're going to miss again, but he just rifled it in the top corner, and it was exactly what he needed, I think.
Top players have the confidence to do that even when it's not going in for them, when they've made that mistake in the past, and pull it off, and if you can do that, you're a top player, nobody's going to say anything so long as you score.
Yeah, if he missed it even, it wouldn't have been much of it.
Yeah, because he hit the post like right before that as well.
Yeah, he did, but it was very quick. Like, Man City were kind of, you could see. There was 3 goals in how many minutes?
8 minutes.
3 goals in 8 minutes. And
it could have been 4.
Yeah,
4 or 5.
And there was 2 goals in a much shorter period of time as well. But Man City were shell-shocked. But again, that goal came from that space. That space just in front of the back 3 or the back 2, whichever they're playing at the time, depending on how they're set up. And there's just that gap there that, De Bruyne is not going to get back and defend.
That's an inherent weakness in Pep Guardiola's system. And his teams are usually so good at controlling possession and controlling ball.
He seems to have gotten the better. I mean, he's got a winning record against Pep now.
Klopp's teams, that's because of their high press. Even against that very, very good possession team, they can still force mistakes, force turnovers, and get back up the pitch as quickly as possible.
I think Pep. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say Klopp's system. It's a good natural counter to Guardiola's.
Yeah, I think Pep underestimated Klopp's Liverpool because they won so easily the last time. Because they have been going on such good form, they thought they could do the same, and they for a lot of the match they almost did. If it wasn't for those gaps in defence, they would have had Liverpool. You'd imagine with the way Liverpool defend. but they underestimated him, thought they could approach this the same way they could approach any other Premier League match. Like you saw when he treats teams seriously, like against when Man City played Napoli. He set up the team completely different to counter Napoli's attack.
And you could tell that Pep had a huge respect for Napoli as well, just because he kept mentioning it in the press, whereas there was no such love for Klopp's Liverpool.
Yeah, I don't think he gave them enough respect. I think he thought they would be easy, that Coutinho's gone, they've known creating things, rather than the fact that you could just, if you leave space behind your midfield between your defence, and they play 4 attacking players as Liverpool too, you can just run in that space, and that's what they did 4 times, and you said it could have been more. But Liverpool,
it was impressive actually. Like it was one of their best performances of the season, I think, despite the late collapse.
they nearly that was the thing. They were comfortable to win the 86th minute, or when was it?
It was 85, 86,
something.
Yeah, it was
mid-80s.
There was 20 minutes there where Liverpool were comfortable at 4-1.
Yeah.
And then just completely collapsed, and like Aguero even had a chance in the 94th minute or whatever.
He's never scored at Anfield, they were saying in a commentary. He's never won at Anfield either. I thought that was an incredible statistic considering his goal scoring record in the big games.
Yeah, but 94th minute he had a chance and he just missed it.
I thought it was going in.
Liverpool still nearly collapsed. They're still
but
they're still Liverpool.
Yeah,
Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain really stepped up in that one particular match, when Coutinho was missing.
One swallow doesn't make the summer.
Yeah, he does have one big performance in him in a particular season, but if he can find the consistency,
he's not going to say that.
He's not. He's always had one big performance. He's had a couple of Arsenal games where people were raving about him. Usually a wing back.
I don't think they were
centre
ever
mid,
really in as high profile a match though.
I think
he had great matches against Manchester United in the past. The
Shield
matches.
The FA Cup,
Community Shield match.
Yeah, but
the FA
doesn't
Cup,
compare.
the FA Cup semi-final against Man City last year was another great game. I mean, he does have big matches, and I think more often than not, really, they're in the big games. But he's still, the rest of the time, he's average. That's the problem.
He needs runs in a team. And
he's getting that
at
the moment,
so-called
though.
preferred position, which I don't think is centre midfield, because he doesn't. I was watching him a few times when he ran on into the edge of the box. Like, where you're playing centre midfield in a team that plays 4 attacking players that aren't you can't be running into your box. He's indisciplined in terms of position play, and he's not good enough defensively.
He's learning though under Klopp. Like I think in the end he made the right decision.
Oh yeah, for his career,
Arsenal.
absolutely. But like, as it's been told already, that Liverpool have tried to get in Naby Keita early rather than get him in the summer game at Christmas, and that's fallen through. He would have knocked him out of the team already. The captain still has to come back into this Liverpool team.
Yeah,
Jordan Henderson.
Adam Lallana
played for the first time in ages now and came on.
He's been coming on as a sub for the last month or so.
Yeah, he hasn't done much.
He's not fully fit yet, I
there.
don't think.
But Wijnaldum, who I think played much better than Oxlade-Chamberlain, because he was everywhere and he did his defensive duty and should have had a.
Wijnaldum has quietly, I think, had a pretty good season. Like he's very good at doing that job.
Honestly, whenever I see him, I always think that he brings a better balance to the team than any of their other.
Because he runs so much. If you have a player that's willing to run as much, you can balance a lot of teams out. He did a lot of Coutinho's running for him earlier on, like this season and last season. With Oxlade-Chamberlain, I think Liverpool are looking for someone to play that Coutinho role, maybe a bit more controlled. Like maybe he has a chance at getting the Emre Can spot when Emre Can leaves at the end of the season.
Well, he has 6 months to impress Klopp.
But he's not good enough to be a first teamer in that side.
I don't think he's not a Coutinho player. He's not a Can player. The player he's closest to there is Wijnaldum.
But that's not. I don't think he's good enough.
I would agree. I don't think he's as good. I think he's just an average player who's got a lot of versatility. A lot of running in him. Technically able to play in a couple of positions. And for 35 million, I think he's a good deal. But I don't think he's ever going to be a Coutinho or even a Lallana when Lallana's.
He doesn't have the creativity in him, and that's unfortunate. He had promise when he was younger, but he's turned into more of a workman-like player than he probably thinks he is. Like he'll have a good career and everything like that.
I still think he's young enough though that Klopp can influence him, like to become a better player.
Absolutely. But I think the big problem is that he still sees himself as that player he was 3 years ago. He sees himself as a more creative player. He doesn't quite get his head to where he is. Like the reason he turned down Chelsea is because he didn't want to play in right wing back, which I think is his best position. And it takes a bit of arrogance to succeed. It takes a bit of that belief in yourself. But I think it's slightly misplaced in this case, and that he will need to sort of knuckle down and accept his role if he wants to really flourish at it.
Yeah, like I think Clavin and what was the name of the other player? Lovren played okay at the weekend.
Yeah.
You know, they.
But
Joe
I've
Gomez
been
was
saying
more
that for a
fault
while
for it.
now.
Yeah.
That,
But they conceded 3 goals. I think those 3 goals came from you're knocking out 4 players, whoever's playing up front.
yeah.
For Liverpool, their
Yeah.
4 players aren't going to defend
Yeah.
for you, so you have to be very tight the rest of the way, and you cannot afford to have an Oxlade-Chamberlain playing in centre midfield.
Yeah,
Because
like
he leaves gaps, and those gaps are exploited, and then you're pulling everyone else out of position, especially when you have a defence so frail and a goalkeeper
Yeah.
as frail as Lloris is,
Yeah.
or whatever his name is, Laurie Karius.
yeah, Karius and Mignolet, like they.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Both
there's
seem
still a lot of
equals.
work he needs to do on that team, and
But I think with a couple, like if they sign a goalkeeper and if they get a defensive, like they have Keita coming in, so they kind of have that problem solved.
They are and they aren't. They still need major work. Like Van Dijk has made a difference in the game he played,
Yeah,
both defensively and offensively.
Yeah.
Like he's a big player, he's a leader, which is something they lack. So they are making decisions.
Yeah.
They do have young players coming through. Robertson's a very good left back. They signed from Hull area this season. He's very good at pressing. He seems to have jumped right into that Klopp thing. Gomez is there. He's young. He's raw. There's other players coming through. Like Anfield has always had a decent enough youth system. So there is players on the peripheral, and Klopp loves those young players. So there is something for the future there. But whether Klopp will be there is another thing.
Oh, well, I think he's building a nice team, and so long as he gets enough backing over the summer and he spots the right replacements, because I mean he's had a couple of misfires at the back and in goals. You know, if he gets those sorted this time, I think Liverpool could well be doing a City next year.
Yeah. He's just never had a good history of defensive signings. Like
his defense at Dortmund was quite good though.
No, he stumbled upon an existing defence. Hummels was already there.
Hummels was there. Nastatic was.
Yeah.
Substitute, yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
was already
and then he
there.
had his left back and his right back who were also.
But the
old
thing
players
with
and
Dortmund
like
is though,
Pizicek and
Yeah.
but the thing with
So we
Dortmund
fell out
is
with
their attacking midfielders. They weren't so high up the pitch. They had a defensive duty.
Yeah.
at
He played-
Dortmund,
he
so
played-
that helped the defensive
He
solidity.
played because Lewandowski was so good that he played a completely isolated centre forward.
Yeah.
So that was miles away from everyone else because everyone else played a controlled press, and Lewandowski contributed to that press as well. But because they were so tight together, they exploited the offside rule, and they did very counter-attacky Italian from the 1990s team without looking like one.
Yeah.
Just very attacking, very prowess. Their prowess is very great.
And then in Spain, Real Madrid continue their poor form. They're now closer to the relegation zone than they are to Barcelona. They're 19 points adrift from Barcelona. We mention them every week at this point, but Zidane's job continuously looks like it's going to come to an end soon.
We were talking before the Clasico that he might get sacked if he lost that.
Yeah, and they lost 3-0.
And
Wasn't
they
it?
lost 3-0. Yeah, I mean,
PSG seems to be the next, but will he even get to PSG?
I mean,
is the question we have to keep asking ourselves.
I think at this point, they've got to accept that the league is gone.
Oh, they have.
In doing that, they haven't sacked him yet. They're keeping him for the Champions League because he's got a history in it. He's good at managing teams to win the Champions League. If they lose to PSG, he's done. It might not even be straight away after. They might let him go to the end of the
But they
season.
can't just give up the league because now they're in danger of missing out on the top
they-
four. Like I
I
don't think they
no,
will.
they're
Like
not.
I don't think they will.
No.
But you never know in
I mean,
football.
It would take them being in 6th place, 5 or 6 points off the top 4 for that to start mattering.
But if they continue on this form, they could easily end up there. Like it is tight there.
Yeah, there is an argument that they're playing so badly at the moment that nobody is scoring for the team.
Yeah, like it has to be brought up.
It is. You're right. You're right to bring it up. Like Ronaldo is apparently depressed, although that's tabloid talk. Over
Yeah,
in
and it
Spain.
is a transfer window, so that always is brought
that
up.
always happens. Even if they sold him, I don't think it probably will make them play better between now and the end of the season. He's not going to score 100 goals this year. They're in trouble. They're an aging squad at the top, like as in the leaders in the team are all aged. They tried to sign young players to bring them in during the summer to bring up the team.
But they didn't bring anyone in really in the summer.
Well, they kind of brought in a few players from a couple of different.
But none of these Galactico signings that will lead
but
the
they
team
don't need those
like
anymore.
Years have passed.
And that's what gave me such hope for Zidane at the end of the season. He did make silly Galactico signings. He was like, okay, we have these players that have won 3 Champions Leagues in the squad.
Yeah.
We don't need any more Galacticos. They're there.
But they sold all their squad depth.
Yeah, well, like they brought through like Asensio.
But he was there last season.
Yeah, he was, but they're bringing that in. You presume they would have kicked on, and they haven't.
Yeah, they haven't.
Like Isco hasn't had the season he had last year.
But do you not think there was a bit of arrogance there? And you're going to have a bit of arrogance when
but
you're Real Madrid and you're European Champions League. Yeah, that they decided to sell off Morata, James Rodriguez is out the door.
I mean, Morata wasn't even at the club last year when they won both. I don't see why selling him in hindsight is...
But he ended up contributing to 9 match-winning points in the first half of the season alone last year.
Yeah, there is something to be said for that. Like, I thought it was a ludicrous decision, especially after they brought him back from Juventus.
Yeah. That
why would they sell him again? And the same for James, maybe he doesn't have a role in the team per se. The way that, you can say Toni Kroos definitely plays in central midfield because he passes the ball around.
But he's doing so well at Bayern now.
He's a great player.
Yeah.
He was one of the best players of the last World Cup.
Yeah,
but he's a great number.
One of the best the next one.
But he's a great number 10.
You can't play number 10, a traditional number 10 in that team.
Yeah, no, Real Madrid just don't do it. Yeah, I mean, he couldn't coexist with Ronaldo.
Yeah, they need a fundamental change. They need to decide what football they're going to play, and they need to change it around.
Yeah. And they need to not shift that for any individual star players. Because Ronaldo right now is dictating the way they play. And it's the reason they kept Benzema as a striker. Yeah. Because he's definitely a touch past it.
Yeah, he's on the wing. He's down from the career type. And Ronaldo's the same. He's on a decline. He's scored 4 league goals this season. Like, I know he scored something ridiculous in the Champions League already.
But I mean, the league.
I saw a video there where he showed he takes 74% of Real Madrid's shots.
Yeah. And
he scored 4 goals this season.
Yeah.
That's... And all the matches he's missed, he's still taking 74% of their shots, which is astonishing. Like you blame Zidane. Okay, he's tactically naive. He doesn't have the strategic mind that we all thought. He's not Pep Guardiola. He's not these things. But this man has won a league title and 2 Champions Leagues in his time at Real Madrid. He coached previously. He grew. He's not a nothing coach. He has done his duty. Yeah. He's been at the lower league. Real Madrid aside.
So really the question is, even if things all go catastrophically wrong, he loses to PSG in the next round, Ronaldo only scores another 4 before the end of the season, do you then give him another season to try and build his own team instead of Ronaldo's team?
See, it's never going to be his team. It's never going to be Ronaldo's team. It's going to be Florentino Perez's team. So he's not going to have a choice in the matter. I would just to give Zidane a chance and to give Real Madrid as a club a real chance to be a progressive club. Ronaldo needs to be sold from that club. Yeah. I know he's the record goal scorer. Everyone loves him. And he's been a great player for them. He's been a great player wherever he's gone. He's carried that team at times. He's won them trophies. Yeah. But I think for the long-term progress of the club, he's not a team player.
Yeah, he's turning 34 in 3 weeks.
Yeah. And I still think he has years left him. He is going to play till he's nearly 40. I've no doubt about it.
But just not to the level of Real Madrid.
Yeah. Well, maybe to near Real Madrid, but he can't play... Real Madrid have been caught up in the Ronaldo bubble since 2008 now.
Yeah.
Everything has been built around him. That's 10 years. Yeah. That's what you realise. Has he been there 10 years?
He signed in 2009. But they were building for that team before then.
So 9 years. That's amazing. He's been at the team for 9 years and they've built every season around him. And now he's starting to win. He started to win last season. And even the season before, he did not have... He's getting progressively worse. He's pulled out in the bigger occasions, which he wasn't in the past doing. Yeah. So he is still there. He is still the big man. But the future is not very bright if Real Madrid continue with their focus on Ronaldo.
So, what do we think? Florentino Perez to give Real Madrid the chance to be a progressive club, or to go and sign Eden Hazard for 200 million at the same age as Cristiano Ronaldo when he signed for Madrid?
It'll be something like that, and he'll just try and recapture the magic. And you get a situation like, say, 2004, or 2003, 2004, 2005 for Real Madrid. The last time Perez...
They just completely stagnate.
Yeah, exactly. And until Perez is kicked out of the club again, that's what's going to happen. The Galacticos thing works and has worked very luckily for Real Madrid in that they fluked their way to the stars aligning. Okay, we have the best players. Yeah. Their policy of buying the best player at an international tournament or buying the new flavour of the month worked.
Getting Toni Kroos for a bag of peanuts because Bayern didn't want to pay his wage.
And actually everyone luckily fitting together.
Luka Modric because Tottenham didn't want to sell to Chelsea for 15 million more.
Marcelo turning into one of the best fullbacks in the world. Carvajal coming through and just turning out to be a great player. Having all, like you said, Morata on the bench.
Yeah.
You know, not even in the starting lineup. Benzema's still there, buying Gareth Bale, and then it looks like, the following year would have cost double the money, or a couple of years later would have cost double the money to buy Gareth Bale the way the market's gone.
Sergio Ramos turning into a good centre back from his right back position at the time,
and becoming a real leader of the team.
Yeah.
You know, replacing a mistake-ridden Casillas with a not as mistake-ridden Taylor Navas.
Casemiro turning out to be a super signing in the end.
Yeah, like they got so lucky. You can say, this is all by design, but the amount of other players they signed at the same time that have all been hidden behind, it's the El Haramadi or whatever they call him, the guy he signed from Real Sociedad, like big.
Iramendi,
that under-20 Spanish team, he was one of the stars.
And they had loads of signings like that, but didn't work out, and they just kind of faded into obscurity. But they're not spoken about. So it has been a complete lucky dip that Paris has got it right this time, and they've won 3 Champions Leagues in an era where the draws lined up for them. Pep Guardiola put up ridiculous sides against them in the Champions League semi-finals. Atletico just exploded in 2 Champions League finals. And Juventus then just like being realised, actually we're all 38 years old at one exact moment.
That will do us for the news. Join us after this, where we will discuss the misfiring strikers in the Premier League. Roughly 180 million was spent last summer on the big summer strikers between Arsenal, Chelsea and Manchester United. Between them, they've scored 28 goals in the league this season. Harry Kane has 20. So what's going wrong with the misfiring forwards?
A combination of things. Moving to different leagues in 2 of their cases, gelling with new teammates, and even the fact that they're not actually playing all that badly.
Yeah, that's the thing. I decided to bring this topic up because the media has decided to criticise. It started with Lukaku, then it kind of moved to Morata, and now people are kind of targeting Lacazette. Yeah. But I actually think these players are playing quite well. Yeah,
I mean, most of them are averaging, 1 goal in 2 games? Which is, your kind of baseline for a good striker.
Yeah, I disagree with the theory behind your question, first of all, about Lukaku, saying that it started with Lukaku, that he was the first to be criticised. I think Jose Mourinho criticised Lukaku to try and distract attention from the rest of his team, and that's what kicked that Lukaku criticism to everything off, if you remember.
Well, it all
he blamed the crowd, and then he was like, no, you don't like me blaming the crowd, so, you're booing Lukaku.
No, but it started before that. No, it started before that because Man United were, as I said, Man United fans were criticising Lukaku, but he did go on a bit of a goal drought.
Yeah, he did
as well, and the media picked up on that. And Mourinho,
that was to do with the team,
fed into Mourinho.
Yeah. No, it absolutely was more to do with the team, but it didn't help that Morata hit a hot patch right at the same time.
Yeah,
and really, all their failings and successes are more the failings and successes of the teams themselves, Yeah,
because at least with Man United, Jesse Lingard seems to have stepped up in this goal drought, but you don't see anyone stepping up for Morata or Lacazette, and that's
because both teams are entirely dysfunctional. Yeah. When you look at Chelsea are level on points with second place at the moment, correct?
Haven't played a game more,
Haven't played a game more than Manchester United, who are playing soon. Right now. Chelsea haven't been doing that badly, but they're in.
It's just that they won the league last season, and Man City are doing so well. It's a combination of those things.
Chelsea's performance right now isn't even a terrible league defence. It's not a good one, but it's not
it's not like it was 2 years ago.
Exactly.
But even the thing with on the show, even we've been very critical of all of the top 6 except Man City. But I think the fact that Man City are just doing so well means it puts the misgivings of the other top 6. But it really shines a light on what's gone wrong.
You said earlier, it's 8 points between 4th and 6th at the moment. So that's 8 points between who's in 4th at the moment?
Chelsea,
who are level with 2nd.
Yeah.
So it's actually 8 points between 6th and 2nd, which is less than 3 matches. It shows you how bad everyone but Man City is doing.
But they're not even doing that terribly. It's a 15-point gap at the moment. Obviously, it could be 12, it could be 14 by the end of the night. We don't know, but it's 12 at the moment, or 15 at the moment.
It's 13.
It's
57.
It's 62 to 47.
Oh, okay. So 15 points. The league is over at the top.
But you have to think that Man City have only dropped 7 points this season.
Yeah.
That's that's obscene. Like we've never seen anything like that. Whereas 47 points for Manchester United at the moment, or Liverpool or Chelsea, is actually quite a good return.
Not when all three of them have that. See, if one had it, it would indicate that there'd be another further drop off. But the fact that they're not means that they're all losing. Like, look at their.
No, but the drop off comes with Arsenal, and then again with Burnley and the rest of those teams, and Everton and Leicester.
Yeah.
So it indicates that there is just a high quality at the top, but it's not as high a quality as like this amazing Manchester City team.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Like the reason, like I think we're in agreement with the fact that the reason behind the underperformance or the seemed underperformance of Lacazette, Lukaku, and Morata is down to the poor performance of their team in general. Or their poor.
That's
like,
what
I know you're trying
well.
to say that they're doing okay. The teams are actually doing okay, with the exception of Arsenal, who dropped off more so than the other two. But I don't think any of them can hold their heads up high. They've dropped, like, to a normal league challenging campaign. They all have lost matches. A significant proportion of matches that they haven't. They've drawn a significant proportion of matches, which isn't league winning form or even league challenging form.
No, but I think in a normal season, the little grouping here of Man United, Liverpool, and Chelsea would be very close to the team on top, if not on top in a season where Leicester was winning the league.
They'd be 6 points off rather than 15. But there'd still be another gap. No, but I think the biggest thing that's hurting these strikers is that two of them play in defensive teams.
Yeah.
And the other one is playing with two teammates who are checked out,
Yeah.
Like Lacazette, whenever you watch Arsenal play, you can see some good movement that's just not being found.
Yeah.
His runs aren't being picked up on.
Yeah,
he's working.
Thierry Henry has been very vocal about this, and he
Mm-hmm.
knows exactly what, because he was explaining like these are similar runs that I was making. Is what he was saying.
Yeah, I wouldn't put Lacazette at Henry's level, but I mean,
no,
he's
not necessarily.
He's a better player than.
But if he's not being given those balls, he
Yeah.
can't be.
Yeah.
He can't prove that he's near
and,
Henry.
And with Morata, it's slightly different in that Morata is getting some of these chances. If you remember the Arsenal-Chelsea game, he missed 3 1-on-1s.
Yeah, I've never seen him.
Yeah, I mean
miss
that
so
was
many easy,
that was a terrible example.
Easy chances.
That was a terrible finishing, but his runs were magnificent to get in behind the defense. Like, he is in all aspects, apart from actually sticking the ball in the net right now. He's on fire.
Yeah.
And then Lukaku is pretty much the same. He's, I think, doubled his amount of assists this season.
Yeah, his link-up play with the likes of Martial, Lingard, and even Rashford has been phenomenal. Something we haven't seen him do at Everton.
Yeah, that's something we haven't seen from him before. It's a new tool in his game.
It's as if, and it's a weird thing because these three players came from teams where they were very successful and they led well. Morata not so much successful, but he has had a career where he has been successful leading the line. Like, this is his first real chance of being the first team starter every week, and he's still adapting to that, and his fitness is taking a toll on that. But say Lukaku and Lacazette, both players led the line for their teams. Their whole teams were built around servicing them. Lukaku previously was pass the ball to him and let him break through.
Let him do everything.
Let him be the beast and ravage defences, and as he showed against Jamie Carragher last season, when he was illustrating how he scores goals, he just turned him by pushing his back into him and rolling him over with his sheer strength and willpower, and then powering the ball in the back of the net. That's barely happened this season. It has happened a couple of times, and more fluke than anything else, that the ball hasn't played into him at that exact time. The way Mourinho plays him is, okay, we're going to play a long ball to you, or to whoever's up there, and you're going to win this ball, and then you're going to hold on to it for as long as you can, or try and offload it.
And that's not one of Lukaku's strengths.
Well, he's growing into it.
Yeah, he is getting better at it, but his first touch has been something he's been criticised about a lot. And when it comes to receiving long balls, you need to have a good first touch.
But that's something that's followed him his whole career. I mean, you don't buy a striker for £70 million and then not play to his strengths,
he's a really good header of the ball, and no one on that team is crossing the ball in.
Yeah, but this is the Manchester United problem. One, the money thing comes into it, that he's 70 million, blah blah blah. In this market, he could have cost nothing.
That's a fair point.
Mourinho doesn't see money when he looks at these players, unless he's talking to the media. He sees this is a unit I can use in my little jigsaw puzzle and put him in there. He'll do what I want him to do. Otherwise, he's not going to play. Lukaku probably, not Mourinho's first choice of a player, like Morata probably is, or someone like...
Yeah, that's the thing as well. Like, Morata was linked with Man United, and Lukaku was heavily linked with Chelsea, and it's weird that they've kind of gone the other
cross
way.
paths.
I think both players actually ended up with the team they're more suited to, or at least the supporting cast they're more suited to.
For now. We'll
You know,
see what happens.
For now.
For one
Okay,
season,
obviously,
Because
both
neither-
teams are going to be
neither-
interchangeable.
Yeah,
in
neither
2
team
years.
have a long-term plan. At the moment, so.
No, but I mean, Morata right now, Fabregas is a great player to feed into his runs. As Piliqueta has managed to pick him out, God knows how many times, and Hazard plays well with everybody.
Yeah.
Morata suits Chelsea. Lukaku, I think, suits United as well because they have those quick wingers.
Yeah.
When he does hold up the ball, he's able to support them and get them moving. And when he, if he were to cut loose and push through himself, he'd have players able to get up and support him like he didn't have at Everton, because as soon as he makes that turn at Everton, he's on his own. He might have half the pitch to do it, but there's no help coming. With United,
it's
he
a
can
very
look for Lingard.
fast-paced, counter-attacking side, and that suits him.
That suits him, exactly.
I think in a more functioning Manchester United attacking side, he would do much better.
Yeah.
But obviously under Mourinho, it's 1-2 players max in the attack at a time.
Yeah, and there's no structure there. They're just told to go out and do whatever you think will
but
help.
everyone else has to hold their position. That's why you don't see Matic, running into the box. You don't see Herrera running into the box.
Yeah.
You don't see whoever's playing central midfield. You don't see them running into the box and leaving their post behind, or the fullbacks pulling out of position to be at the edge of the box and put something away. That is a problem with Manchester United, and Lukaku has to cope with that, not having that supporting cast that would help him. Chelsea is kind of like, how do you explain Morata's complete collapse in form though? You say he's playing well, but he's not.
He just seems like a confidence player.
Even
one miss seems to kind of snowball
But
into
even-
missing the next one,
See,
the next one.
The thing with Morata, I have a problem with Morata that he doesn't contribute enough. He's more of an old school centre forward. He doesn't contribute enough to the team off the ball, and he doesn't contribute enough to the team on the ball if he doesn't score goals. Like earlier in the season, he was scoring goals. He was talking about the Azpilicueta assist rate to him, and they were great. He did against Manchester United and he did against other teams as well. But if he did nothing else in those matches. He had a couple of chances in those matches. I think he hit the bar a few times and stuff like that, and he scored the goal. But he's not doing anything else. So he's one job, and he just stands there. He doesn't track back. He doesn't defend at corners. He doesn't do a huge amount of work. He's unlike these other two players who do track back. Lukaku and Lacazette both are more all-round players. So if he doesn't do what he's meant to do, what use is he?
No, there's a definite point to be made there that you have to expect more of him because of his role as compared to the other two. But I think Chelsea's team just doesn't suit a striker like that, which again, an issue of playing, getting your new toy and
or is it player recruitment? The manager there, I think Conte did Conte have Morata before, or was that only
no, just Allegri?
Just Allegri, but I would think Morata is a Conte type of player.
He is. I think so too.
Conte signed numerous Italian players like him when he was at Juventus.
Yeah.
He's not Costa. I know Costa was a beast similar to Lukaku.
Yeah.
He could do everything. He could bully players, and that was his type of game and finish as well. I'm not sure. There doesn't seem to be joined up thinking.
No,
that
that is the problem with Chelsea. They are two good teams, but two good different teams sawn together like Frankenstein's monster. Because if you look at how many goals they've scored, I think they're the least in the top 6, joint with Arsenal. But they've only conceded 16. Which is as good as Man City.
It's better than Man City's now.
Is it better than Man City? It's better than Man City.
It's the same as Man United.
It's the same as United. They are a great defensive team, and they can be a great attacking team, but they can't be both at once. And that's what's hurting Morata right now, because with your typical centre forward whose only requirement is to score goals, that's usually coming in a defensive team. But that defensive team will then have a certain amount of players who are completely offensive. So that's Hazard, Morata, and that's the problem. Because Chelsea are using too many players to keep that defence as good as it is.
But if you can't change one aspect, because they can't change the defensive part of that, so what's the solution? You can't play. That's my problem. Is Morata's still playing? He's contributing nothing. It's destroying his confidence more and more and more. Because you see it. It's like his head is dropping. He's missing these one-on-one chances. Chelsea aren't scoring
It reminds
goals.
you of Torres.
Yeah, it is. It's a similar situation altogether. Torres' career almost ended. We saw him go back to Atletico, and he suddenly started scoring again, and he was too old at that stage. Is that going to happen? Morata's how old now? 24, 25?
I'm not
25,
sure.
I think.
He spent a lot of his career as that sub. He's the next big thing, and now he should be the thing now, and he's not doing it for Chelsea. But Chelsea don't have anyone else. Who's the backup striker?
They have Batshuayi.
Who's for sale?
Lloyd Remy. Still at the
Is he
club.
at the club
Still
still?
at the club.
Both of those players.
I
are for
think.
sale.
I think.
But
I think
it-
he was loaned to Crystal Palace.
Like we
actually.
talked about Andy Carroll, like
Yeah,
they,
that's what I mean.
at
Andy
the
Carroll's gonna
summer,
come in.
in the summer they were linked with Fernando Llorente. You know, it's
Yeah.
clear those two players have a similar kind of style. You
Yeah.
lump long balls to them, and they're very good headers of the ball.
Yeah.
So it's clear that
The thing is-
Chelsea seem to they want to have a plan B on the bench.
Well, you see, if Chelsea get a big striker like that,
Yeah.
they can lump balls to that he will win, he will knock it down. You can play Morata beside that striker. You
So
know,
you think
can
they're
play
going
him
to go
off
for two?
maybe, and drop Hazard into a hole. Give him a free role behind the two strikers. You know,
'Cause
because that you know, it gives a bit more
Yeah, because that's.
offensive.
I remember Conte's first big team at Juventus won the first league-winning side.
Yeah.
Where they played the 3-5-2.
Yeah.
That's what eventually would have reformed into. So as opposed to the 3-4-3, they played a clear two up front,
Yeah.
and then they played wing backs, and then everyone else was in central midfield. I think Jovinko, and who was the other big player?
They had Llorente
that
at
midfield,
Juventus.
in the midfield?
No, this is before. No,
midfield
it was up
was-
front.
up
Jovinko was up
front,
front,
Jovinko,
and they had a big man.
Tevez.
Tevez, yeah.
No, yeah, but there was someone
Tevez.
else around Tevez. It was before Tevez.
Oh no, I do know what you're.
Anyway, regardless
Yes.
of who the player
Mandzukic?
was.
No, Mandzukic
that
was after. Mandzukic
after
was
that.
after.
There was players.
There was that
He had
type,
Matri
that type,
and stuff
yeah.
like that on the bench, but I'm trying to think of who was the other
It's
player.
Simone Zaza.
No, that was again after.
No, but anyway, I get what you're saying. But
So maybe that is if they do get Andy Carroll to hit it, is what they're trying to do,
Yeah.
and that would be a change from the last 5 years at Chelsea
Yeah.
since Ancelotti. Ancelotti was the last big change that Chelsea had undertaken.
Yeah.
Like that was the last big. They moved to an attacking.
and even Ancelotti's change isn't nearly as big as the change Conte will need to make.
Yeah.
Or it's looking like Conte will need to make.
But do you
to
not
move
think
this
that
team on.
Conte is just stuck in his ways? Like we saw the Leicester match was 0-0. They were down to 10 men, or Leicester were down to 10 men.
Well,
and
I
they
think-
stuck with the three. They stuck with the defensive system. Like why not
Well,
bring
that's
on
the
an
cynical
attacking player
Italian in
for?
I think Conte isn't getting a chance to properly show his ways because he's not getting the signings he needs.
But this was a criticism of him at Juventus as well, that he wouldn't revert from
He's
type.
slow to change.
But again, at Juventus, he had that brilliant quote about not going into the $100 restaurant with only $5 in your pocket.
Yeah.
You know?
But then Allegri with the same squad brought them to a Champions League final the next
I think
season.
Allegri's proven that he's a better manager than
I
Antonio
think
Conte.
his work, I think
the
his
fact
work
that he's won
would-
the league with two different clubs when both times he's been considered a laughing stock, the fact he's brought them to two Champions League finals, the fact that he builds a new team every single season, it seems.
and that he has been successful in there.
And even though he does have the biggest transfer budget in Italy, he's using it correctly, which Conte didn't.
Yeah.
And Conte hasn't. Whether he's been given the chance or not at Chelsea,
Yeah,
his transfers haven't shown.
Zappacosta is
feel-
very clearly a Conte signing. I don't think he's fit in. Like he's one of.
I do feel
he's an
I do
example.
feel that is the big reason the board don't back him, because Conte's signings for the most part aren't great. You know, his signings, not the board signings. The board signings last season: David Luiz,
Kante.
Marcus Alonso, Kante, three of our most important players. You know, during most of the title-winning season. The signings this season: Zappacosta, that's a Conte signing. Morata, that's a board signing.
Yeah.
You know, who else was brought in?
Drinkwater.
Drinkwater.
That's a board signing.
That's a board signing.
signing,
Yeah. And even then, I think it's a board signing because Conte demanded a centre mid,
and also
you know.
because they needed to raise the English.
and because they
they
needed,
need English players.
I mean, there are problems, and we've already kind of gone into Chelsea, so we'd better not keep going into them.
Yeah.
But
To summarise,
I think
Morata.
hurt by the situation at the club, big confidence player, missed a couple of chances, too much of a complete forward to afford to miss those chances.
Yeah. Lacazette, it's all down to
The team.
Arsenal just being a complete basket case of a club, him being played kind of out of a position where he's previously been a player they play balls to and he'll run and he'll score. Now he's expected to play like Olivier Giroud and hold up the ball and bring the player in, which isn't the player he is. And Lukaku, it's down to the way Manchester United are attacking, that they don't have the structure to take the best from his attributes.
Yeah.
So that's a football resolved.
So, if we all kind of think it's down to the systems, then do you reckon any of them would be as good as Kane in the
Yeah,
perfect
that's the
system?
kind of thing I was going to bring up that I forgot to bring up. Is Kane is kind of showing them
Yeah.
up in another way because Kane has twice as many goals as the
Yeah.
next best.
Yeah.
So of those three,
So-
I think potentially all three of those, like maybe they're not. I don't think any of them. It's difficult to say because when you look at Kane, he's not good at anything more so than any other player, but he just seems to put the end
he's
product
the
in
jack
there.
of all trades.
He is, yeah.
Yeah. Kane, I always feel, is like one of those strikers, a good striker, you know, a striker on that level who manages to score an absolute bucket load once in every 6 or 7 games.
Yeah,
He
you look
just never
at
looks
his
dangerous.
form lately though, and he's scoring a hat trick here, a hat trick there, a brace here.
But that's what I mean. You know,
He
he'll
scores
go
them
through the rest of the
in
season scoring
clumps.
one, then not one, then one,
Yeah,
then not
the
one,
standard
and then,
what we're saying
and then
two
gets
games.
3 or 4
Yeah.
in 1 or 2
But
games.
that's the difference between a top class player and a not.
Yeah.
Like
No,
in the
I'd
world
agree.
where we got used to Messi and Ronaldo goal scoring returns,
Yeah.
and similar players like Lewandowski with goal scoring returns like that. Kane is a return to, okay, this is a player who's not exceptionally gifted, but is good enough and, is smart enough in the football brain sense to get a certain amount of goals, to be in the right place, to not, terrify defences, but still be an excellent player.
Yeah.
It's a hark back to olden times, like Alan Shearer, was an excellent player as well, but say Kevin Phillips, who just, how does he keep scoring? We know he's going to be there, but he shows up and he scores.
I'd even say the Shearer comparison is a good one because Shearer never had anything that he was
Technical
brilliant
ability,
at.
he wasn't, he's not dribbling past players, he's not powering through players.
His best talent was sticking the ball in the net.
Yeah.
And I think that's Kane's best talent too. I'd agree.
Yeah, and that's the difference between them at the moment. The other three have all the same attributes, and in a lot of ways, they're more like Morata's a better footballer, Lacazette's a better footballer, Lukaku's probably a better footballer. But they're all, the jury's out on a couple of those because Lukaku's still a young player, he's still raw.
Yeah.
But the other two certainly show that they're skillful players.
But I do think that it's only been 6 months.
Yeah.
Especially the ones moving into the league having to readjust.
Yeah.
Lukaku readjusting to a new system. They're all playing differently to the way they're used to.
Yeah.
They're all playing
Kane
with
has been
different
at the same club
teammates.
since he was
Exactly.
16.
That has seriously helped Kane. So I would say we still have to give these 3 strikers another.
Yeah, that seems like a fair way to kind of end the conversation. And that will do us for the top of the show. Join us after this, where we will guess the player. Welcome back. It's time to close out what's been a busy show with Guess the Player. If, again, any name suggestions are welcome at the tfpod@gmail.com, or any player suggestions as well. But the concept is pretty simple. I'm going to list out a bunch of teammates throughout a specific player's career, and Matthijs and Andrew here have to try to guess the player. So are you guys ready?
Absolutely.
Robbie Savage, Diego Forlan, Laurent Blanc, Gerard Piqué, Teddy Sheringham, Gareth Bale, Henrik Larsson.
Okay, Savage, Forlan, Blanc. I lost count there.
Gerard Piqué,
Piqué,
Teddy Sheringham,
Sheringham.
Gareth Bale, and
Bale.
Henrik Larsson.
Okay, I think I know who it is.
Give me a second now.
Well, I'll give you a chance because I'm pretty sure I know who this is.
Okay, so Savage and Bale indicates he's Welsh. Forlan, Blanc, Piqué, Sheringham, Larsson. Forlan and Piqué, were they both at United at the same time? Yeah. Blanc.
Well, they weren't actually.
No.
Well, they were. Well, he would have been the younger player section, Piqué, and Forlan was there.
Right. Sheringham. Larsson was also at United.
Yeah.
I'll
let you try because I'm pretty sure I know who
Who
this
are we
is.
talking about? Welsh United player, former United player. Fletcher was Scottish. Sheringham, did he go to Tottenham?
Sheringham was at Tottenham, and then he went back
was
to
at
Tottenham.
Tottenham.
And he was at Notts Forest.
He was at Notts Forest.
West Ham.
West Ham. It's talking about a Welsh player was at United. Am I right in that he was at United?
Yeah.
The guy you're thinking of.
So far, so good.
So one of the other English clubs Sheringham was at. Who else do we have there? Blanc. What English
French
team? He
legend.
played for West Ham, didn't he?
Laurent Blanc?
Laurent
Did he play
Blanc.
for
No,
West
he
Ham?
didn't play for West Ham. No.
He played for some English team.
He did, yeah.
He did,
played
yeah.
for 2 seasons.
Played for Chelsea?
No.
Was it Chelsea? No,
No,
was
that's
to say.
Frank
That was
LeBoeuf.
to say. Oh, yeah, LeBoeuf as well. Tottenham?
No, he didn't play for Tottenham either.
Who did Blanc play for?
See, once you get it,
This is the missing piece.
I tried to keep this one short and simple because we have had a longer show.
Yeah,
this
fair.
week.
Aston Villa?
no.
No.
I'll give you one. Just guess a Welsh player.
Ryan Giggs.
There
Oh, is
you
that
go.
easy?
Yeah,
Oh, was Blanc at United?
Yeah.
Blanc was at United, yeah.
He
Oh,
played
man.
with Robbie Savage in the class of 92. He played with, who's the next player?
Well, he played with Robbie Savage for
In
Wales.
Wales as well.
Diego Forlan, they were all United after
Yeah,
that.
except
Except
every one of
Gareth
those
Bale.
players except for Gareth Bale's at Manchester United.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
I wanted
yeah.
to see could I
Did he
do.
actually play with Gareth Bale?
I think so, yeah, in 2006 or no, for qualifying for the 2008 Euros. I remember them both playing against Ireland.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to see could I do a one club man, and he is in the news this week for becoming the
over
new
the Welsh man.
Wales manager. I was wondering would Robbie Savage take over for friendlies or Or would Craig Bellamy do it?
That would be some team.
Yeah.
That would be some backroom team.
That will do us though for this week's show. Thank you for listening. Please get in touch. Email us for any suggestions, any suggestions for player of the show, any suggestions for topic of the show, or guess the player. I'm getting mixed up now. It's been a long day.
Yeah.
So email us at thetfpod@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at thetfpod. Follow me on Twitter at cheesyheartpun, and follow Andrew at Conmon27. Please subscribe, rate and review on whatever platform you use. Spread the word about the show. Please tell your friends or any family that is into football. Maybe not into football, but might want to get into football. Just
We
tell
can talk
them.
about other things.
Yeah,
Come on.
just
Let us know.
Just tell them. That's the point. So until next time, Andrew, say goodbye.
Bye bye.
Matthijs, say goodbye.
See ya.
It's goodbye from me.